it to make sure it works.
Yeah, I need to make sure the sound works.
Talking it. Hey, Mr. Russell.
Hey, Mr. Russell.
All right, now sing that song so I can make sure it sounds good with singing.
I wonder the sky, how Jesus, the Savior, that come for to die, for poor, we people like you and my God. I wonder the sky.
Really good.
Yeah.
Hey, man, give me 5. Give me 5.
I figured
Give me
you were
5.
doing
That was really good, Levi. All right, welcome to MZBC The Podcast for December the 15th.
15?
Payday.
Is it
I
payday?
wish.
Yeah,
For who?
payday. For me,
Really?
1st and 15th. You get paid every day when you own your own business, so that's different.
Sir, you were mistaken about
I
that.
get paid once a month.
Once a month.
Once a month.
Wow. I couldn't do that.
I'm on net maybe. I might get paid.
You're
There's
on-
no guarantee.
That's true. You do sign contracts, though. So
I do
your
not.
You don't? Okay, hold on. We got to do the intros. With me always, Mr. Mike Reagan, our Reclaim Life Group leader. And tonight you'll notice our new guest, Miss Morgan Gould.
Gould.
Gould?
I always
Yes.
want to mess
Gould.
up Gould. It's not gold. There's a U in there. That's why I was like, I want to make
Gould.
sure I said it right.
People call me Gold, too.
Of course. You just shine.
Yep.
You do look like you're dressed in gold, though.
Yep.
Yeah, she has a gold glow about her. I mean, you can see like the Holy Spirit shining through you.
Yep.
So Morgan is a teacher.
Yes.
She's a church member. She is a daughter, a friend, a sister. I was trying to think of all the different ways I could introduce you earlier, like different things, but I realized I don't know many other things about you other than that. She went to Clayton State, graduated last year, and now she's a special ed teacher, correct?
Yes.
For
Henry County Schools.
Henry
What
County
school?
Schools.
Stockbridge Elementary.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's
It
in my
takes
town.
takes a special person to do special ed. And the age you do is,
Kindergarten through 2nd grade.
whoa,
Yes.
that's hard even if kids don't have a special need, kindergarten through 2nd grade.
Mhm.
But also I think it's the hardest, but it's probably very rewarding whenever you like have a breakthrough. When someone does what you're trying to get them to do and stuff like that.
Yes. The
Yeah.
things that I've seen in like the past few months, because we're going to wrap up next week, I'm so happy because they've come a long way. A long way. So whenever I look at them, I'm just like, I'm so proud of you because you tried.
Yeah.
So regardless, I'm just like, I'm excited. 'cause
She
they-
looks at her students the same way I look at people out in the congregation. I'm so proud of you because you tried.
Oh, you took notes. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, we were just talking. Morgan told me when she came in that she takes notes on Sunday, and I said that's awesome, but it's also terrifying because to have someone write down everything you say is just a different thing. People don't follow you around when you're putting in a new alternator and write down how you did it and what you said to do, because I'm sure
But I'm more than happy to show them and teach them how to do it.
Yeah,
I helped the guy over the phone today to get his truck running.
that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I had a car problem last night, and the one person I didn't call Morgan was the mechanic that I know, Mike.
Mm.
I don't know why. Went and spent probably double on a car battery when I know someone that gets
I could have brought your battery to get you home.
that cost.
Hey, you'll know next time.
I know that. I'll keep it in my repertoire for next time. So, what's going on, Mike?
I have this blister on my hand.
Oh, yeah, it's just disgusting. Are you really going to talk about that?
I am.
Did it come through sharing the gospel? And
It did.
okay, good.
It did. And believe it or not, I'm going to ask you first. Well, I'm going to ask Morgan first, since she's the guest. Where's the most strangest place you've ever shared the gospel with somebody?
Strangest place.
Well, I mean, that's putting her on the spot. I'll stall for her while she thinks about it for a second.
Parking lot.
Strange?
A parking lot.
Yes.
It's like a game show. Parking lot.
Parking lot, Bob. Ding! parking lot, number 2 answer.
Because honestly, it's just like it's the parking lot.
Yeah.
You're trying to get in and go.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you see people, and it's just like, Lord, my press. Go talk to them on your heart, and it's just like, it's the parking lot. It's dark. And most times you go up to somebody in the parking lot, people listen.
So, hey, can I talk to you? He's like, no.
No.
Yeah. So last night when I had my car problem, I was at the little school across the street, and they were getting out. You got to forgive me on this podcast. I sound like I'm in a cave, but I'm just gonna keep rolling with it because y'all sound great. They were getting out of school or something. It was like 6 o'clock, and I was like, I could just go walk over to those people and ask them, can I use your phone? I'll call my wife. No, I was like, those people would be like, who are you? No way. So I agree. Parking lots are weird places to try to share anything. But
So what about you, Russell?
the strangest place I've shared the gospel, I would say a parking lot, but it's only because I'm here at the church and people walk up in the parking lot. I have not had a weird encounter at a strange place to share the gospel.
I guess strange would be
maybe
not an appropriate word.
Maybe the most
like an odd place.
Yeah,
odd,
yeah.
Strange.
I would say like a liquor store.
Yeah.
Or like at a bar would be a strange place to share the. I've never done that.
I mean, you personally, not
personally, right? Yeah.
not just to answer the question.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I don't have one.
Well, okay.
What's the oddest place you've done it?
I'm about to tell you.
I figured.
So yesterday I was in East Point at a studio trying to get some work done before I call it quits for the break. And I'm literally done for the day. It's about 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I'm packing the truck up. Truck's running, it's getting warmed up, and I'm about to hit the road. Customer calls. We've worked together for many years, and she has a piece of equipment. It's called a Landau trailer and a tractor to pull it, or a big Freightliner truck. We call them tractors. The Landau is actually the tandems on the trailer. It's got a hydraulic motor. You crank the engine up, little like Honda engine. You crank it up, and it runs a hydraulic pump, and you can actually slide the tandems on the trailer forward, and then you can let the back of the trailer down, and you pull cars up on it and pieces of equipment, and you slide it back, and you can run up the road with it. Well, she called and said, hey, my Landau, the brakes are locked up on it, and he's stuck in the middle of the road. I was like, okay. I said, my first question is, where is he? And does it have to be tonight, or can I get it first thing in the morning?
Like, is he in the middle of 285?
Yeah, because I'm like, it's 3 o'clock. I'm about done. I said, if he can wait in the first thing in the morning, I'll run up there. If it has to be tonight, I'll go tonight. So okay, I'll call back. Calls the driver, calls me back. She said he's in the middle of the road and he's at Truist Park.
Oh wow!
So he's right close to you. I was like, Truist Park's in Windy Hill on the north side of town in Marietta. She's like, oh, it is, isn't it? I was like, okay, now it's 3:30.
Where were you?
I'm literally in East Point, right on 166, right at Fort McPherson's where I was at.
Nowhere close to Truist Park.
Nowhere close.
No.
It's the ball field. So I was like, okay. So I'm like, okay, he's in the road. I said, well, send me his location. Let me know where he's at. And she sends me the driver's number so I can just call direct. Well, I called twice back to back. He wouldn't answer the phone. I was like, well, I'm going to start heading to the house because I don't know where I'm going. So I'm leaving. She sends me where he's at, a picture of where he's at. It's like he took a screenshot. He's literally at Turner Field. He said Turner Field.
Total wrong part.
Yeah, and he's just always used to call him Turner Field.
You were actually close to that.
I was literally 10 minutes from him. I was like, okay, I can take care of this. So then he calls me back. I was like, by this time I'd done made it on the 166. And I was like, I'll be there in like 5 minutes. I know exactly where you are. And he's in the diamond of the interstate. When the exit ramp, you got the little diamond there. And that's where he's at. So I pull up there, pull the four ways on. And it was kind of a good time because now it's about 4:30, and it's rush hour, so nobody's moving fast. Thankfully for us, it's a good thing.
Killed, yeah.
So we get out, I'm starting messing with the brakes, and it's fighting, and there's one wheel that's locked up, and it's basically, it's called cammed over. The brakes are cammed over. The brakes are locked down. They're not moving. So you're going to drag that one wheel. Long story short, we had to slide the tandem up, and I literally had to take my sledgehammer and beat the brake drum off the truck.
Wow.
So that's how I got that, swinging a sledgehammer last night on the side of interstate.
I told you it reminded me of playing baseball, swinging a baseball bat.
Yeah.
So.
Of course, I was on my knees,
Mm-hmm.
swinging up under a trailer with a 5-pound sledgehammer. So I busted a hole in the brake drum, and I got it released. And the driver, he comes out, super nice guy, young guy, and got the trailer taken care of to where he could move it. And for over an hour, we talked about the gospel on the side of the interstate
Wow.
in the middle of rush hour traffic.
How does that come up? Because
As usual, I let them open the door just to fill them out. Never met the guy. He has a great name. His name is Micah.
okay, that helps.
Great name. That's awesome. Well, he just started talking, and I could just tell from his words and what he was saying, he does believe. And so for over an hour, literally over an hour, we sat there on the side of the interstate next to a truck and talked about the gospel.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So mine's on the side of the interstate in rush hour traffic.
That was really good. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how I got that blister last night.
Morgan, you said parking lot, did that happen like at Clayton State? Was there a lot of opportunities at Clayton State?
Yes, lots of opportunities, and most of the time it was like at night. So it's just like leaving, talking to people like, hey, hi. Just because at Clayton State, it was basically like everybody was family. So just walking up to people talking was kind of like a normal thing. So just sometimes just walking, talking to people. It's like, I'm walking to my car here, I'm walking here, like, okay. And then I just start talking to them. It just comes up like naturally. And so just, because I know a lot of people my age, because I'm 23, they question the belief of God because there's so much stuff out there. So with them questioning, just answering some of their questions that they would have about God. And it's like some stuff is just kind of like basic, and it's like it will take a long time to explain, but it's just like when you have that pressed inside of your heart by God, it doesn't matter how much time it takes. You want to be able to evangelize and talk to people because you want to be able to minister to their heart, because that's what God wants you to do inside of that moment. So might as well just be obedient and do it. So it'd be at night, and sometimes it'd be like guys, girls, or groups of people, but it'd be something fun to do because it's just like just talking to people. And I love talking to people, so.
Yeah, and it's not that hard. It's not as hard as people think it is.
Yeah.
But I'll let them open the door usually.
Yeah.
And I told him that. It's like, you open the door, I just walked into it.
Yeah, so it just came up.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, I'm dealing with like crisis situations here. People come and
I know, lights go out,
yeah,
toilets leak.
not that kind of crisis situation. We do have plenty of those, but when they come and knock on the church door, the office door, it's because
Probably
they're going through like
completely
some
different
drama in their life.
Yeah.
They either have drove from Michigan to Atlanta because they thought there were going to be jobs when they got here, and they get here and they realize that Michigan and Atlanta are the same. You know, there's people and there's jobs, and if you don't want to work, you're not going to find a job, and so then they find themselves in a tough position. And so
I was looking
I
for
pray
that
with them and
workless
encourage them.
job paycheck.
the workless job paycheck, yeah, I'm still looking for that one too. The one that doesn't make you do uncomfortable things and you can just kind of plan your own schedule and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm also looking for that. That's what I tell them. But yes, that's how most of my gospel encounters are here in that kind of situation. Out and about, I'm telling you, I think there's something about sharing the gospel and preaching and doing that kind of stuff that when I'm out and about, it's sad to say, and I'll say, and Morgan, I told Morgan before she got here, you're going to learn stuff about me, and you think I'm a good pastor and stuff, but you're going to learn I'm a regular dude. It's the last thing that I'm thinking of a lot of times when I'm out and about, because I've been doing it like either all day or preaching it or teaching a class or whatever, and I'm like, right in this moment, I don't have any more energy to talk to you about that. Now, if someone was in need and like randomly brought up a question, okay, we can get into that, but I'm not like eagerly looking for the
Seeking
person
it out.
You know, you should be, I guess, you should be, but I'm not always doing that. And so I do, there's no better feeling though, like Morgan said, whenever people do have questions and you're able to answer them and you take whatever amount of time there is and they actually get what you're saying, like that's a huge payoff and a huge thing. So Morgan, how, you just graduated last year, right? 2020?
Spring 2021.
Spring of 2021.
Yes.
So not even last year. It's just like,
Yeah.
wow. I thought it was 2020.
That's why she still enjoys her job right now.
You know, I think Morgan's going to be the kind of would enjoy her job forever. Your mother's a teacher? I think you told me that in the past.
Yes.
Yeah. And does she also teach special ed?
No, she was a 6th grade teacher. Now she's an instructional coach.
What does that mean?
So basically,
That was my question.
you not only
What?
help the kids, you also help the teachers teach. So
Oh.
basically, you just go in to support teachers and you support the kids too.
Okay. I never heard of that. Have you heard of that before? That's pretty cool. And so my point is, teaching's in Morgan's background. Like her mom did it. Now she's doing it. I think that she's going to do it forever and make a huge impact. And what better person to be out there than someone that loves Jesus,
Yes.
trying to impact the world.
Because you really do need Jesus in the classroom. You really do.
I've always thought that people that just deal with kids, like especially daycares and teachers,
Yeah.
it's just some special people.
They're a
So
special breed anyways.
I struggle with one. You know, I was like, well, how many you got? Like 10, something
I
like
have
that.
13 kids in my class.
13.
Yes.
Is
See?
it just you or is there a parapro?
I have 2 paras, and I am grateful for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, I struggle.
I don't know if you could do it on your own, but you can't bring Jesus into your classroom. True, or can you?
I can. There are ways.
Okay.
There
Well, I
are
know the
ways.
way
Yes.
I had to be. Under
Jesus
the-
had many names, sir.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And carry his presence everywhere. So where I go, he go. And he
Well,
came before I did.
I didn't mean it that way.
I know.
Yeah, I know you can bring Jesus.
Can you
into
believe
the
a pastor just told you that? You
Yeah,
can't
I
take
can't believe it.
Jesus into that
I
classroom.
can't believe
I think you
it.
two are trying to be rude. That's not what I was saying. Because I know when I had to go to FCA, I had to go under the umbrella. I mean, the Mount Zion High School had to go under the umbrella of FCA.
Mhm.
Like if anyone ever asked anything, then my response was always that I'm here on behalf of FCA, not on behalf of Russell or Mount Zion Baptist Church or any of that stuff, because FCA is the thing that was protected in case church versus state, that kind of stuff came up. So that's what I was saying. You can't just go in there and say, Jesus is the way and da-da-da-da. And maybe you can. I guess that's my question. Do you? Can you? How does that work in the public school system?
So I haven't really come across any problems, but I also haven't been teaching for very long. And I also came in like 2 unique circumstances. One, it's the middle of pandemic, and 2, I'm a non-traditional teacher. So I didn't go through like the traditional route most people go through. I came in through the TAP program, so I came in kind of different. So I haven't really encountered anything. Also because I don't think people are really searching that hard, because I know some people, they do get in trouble for things that they do, but before my kids come in there, I do pray inside of my room because I want to shift the atmosphere, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on inside the school building throughout the day, and I just want to make sure that the presence of God is in there, because before I go amongst God's creation, I want to go before my Creator, and I want to make sure His presence is inside the room, because a lot of stuff happens. A lot of stuff happens, and I want to make sure my mind is together, and I want to make sure my kids, that they have like a great day, because I don't know what's going on at home.
Yeah.
So when they come in, I just want to make sure that they're having.
I should do that before I get in the service truck in the morning.
You know,
Man,
yeah.
that's,
You don't-
that's
you
some
don't-
good
I
stuff.
thought the way you're out sharing the gospel, that before you went out every day, you're like,
Oh, he's always with me.
yeah. You just don't stop and pray before you go, like.
Yeah, I don't
physically.
sprinkle holy water nothing on my
You don't?
service truck when I get in.
I-
No.
I have this thing in my office. It's a little thing of oil. I guess someone gave it to me 20 years ago whenever I first came to Mount Zion. It's like a anointing oil. You should put it on your steering
I got some
wheel.
olive oil in the
You
house.
should.
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's what's inside that thing is olive oil.
I heard avocado oil is better for you, though.
Avocado oil? Yeah, it's a little less fatty.
I guess. I don't think it's working.
I believe you, but there's so many things going on in people's homes and then you have to. I always have a special respect for teachers because I only have to be in front of people and doing things like twice a week. You do it every day, and so you're dealing with their real stuff every day. So I respect teachers for that.
There's
You get to know.
special people to deal with kids.
So are the parents difficult at times?
I've had some very, very unique things occur
Mm-hmm.
where I'm like, this can't be real. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
It's
What
like,
the
did that
world?
just happen?
Yes.
Is that, am I? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just happened.
Like pinching myself. Am I awake?
Yeah. So the answer to that was there's some unique parents out there.
Yeah.
And so we pray for our people in their jobs all the time at church. In the office, we'll stop from time to time if people ask us to and pray for them. So we're gonna add all the teachers out there that are dealing with, how do you say it, unique situations.
Yes.
we're gonna make sure we pray for them. And so, trying to think what else went on this week, Mike. It's been a pretty quiet week, huh?
I'm
It's
glad.
kind of chill.
I was counting down the days, man. Actually
Are
got
you getting in the
done.
Christmas spirit? I mean, last week we said we were.
As far as decorating and stuff,
But just in general, like I wasn't really, most of the time for Christmas I'm like really excited. And are you a Christmas person? Like you love it? Yeah. Who's not? I mean, that's a dumb question, but I said in my sermon on Sunday, I wasn't really there yet where I was super pumped about Christmas. I'm getting better this week, and next week will be Christmas, so I'll be there. But I don't know why. I think the older you get and the further you get away from getting toys, and you're the giver of toys now and stuff like that, it just changes. And as your kids get older, like your son is still, what, 5?
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I have a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old. It just takes on a different thing when they get to that age because they don't believe in certain things they did before, and gifts become more expensive but smaller. And so I'm a big show. Like when you show up at Christmas, I want it to be like, boom,
Boom.
here's everything. But as your kids get older and the gifts get smaller, but they cost more than all the big stuff you used to get, under your tree starts looking different.
Yes.
And that hits me a different way because I want it to be like, almost to the point where I want to wrap like just big boxes that have nothing in them just so it looks like just so it looks like it's Christmas.
Send a message out in the congregation. If anybody bought a refrigerator, I want the box.
Just wrap it. And make
Washing
it look
machine, something. I want the big box.
Yeah, absolutely. But I love Christmas. So, Morgan, do you guys, we asked this last week, real Christmas tree, fake Christmas tree?
Our Christmas tree is fake.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's fake.
Always been?
No, my brother, when he first started going through like treatment,
Mhm.
we had to get like a fake tree because the scent and
Yeah.
whatnot. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Gotcha. Okay.
so we just maintained the fake one.
Yeah. The podcast I was listening to last week, they were having the debate as what brought it up on here. They did 2 different groups of people, like surveys, and one was 51% to 49%, another one was 48 to 52. So basically it was like 50-50, real or fake trees. I still go with real.
I like the real ones myself.
Yeah.
If I picked it
honestly
out.
don't care about the tree. I just like going to the Christmas tree farm. That's another one of these cheesy like Christmas things I like to do when we all go to the Christmas tree farm. The kids carry the little cart. We cut down the tree and then they roll it over to the cart.
And they
stuff
sling it through that mesh.
like that. They shake it on that thing first to
Yeah,
get
and then
all
they
the.
throw it through.
I heard a stat the other day, and I think it's got to be false because I get a real Christmas tree every year. They said there could be 20,000 different types of bugs on a live Christmas tree, which totally can't be always true because I've never witnessed anything in my house, and I get one every year. So I don't know. I just thought it was a.
Unless you get one of those National Lampoon Christmas trees, it's got a squirrel in it.
Clark Griswold. No, I do love that movie, and when he cuts that rope and that thing just shoots out and blasts all the windows out in his living room.
I like when he plugs up all the lights and the meter just in.
The nuclear reactor, they gotta turn it on. Like, yeah, it's a great movie. What's your favorite Christmas movie?
The Grinch, the one with Jim Carrey. In it.
We watched that one several times this week.
The Grinch with Jim Carrey. Oh, okay. This week we've watched Elf. With,
I never got in there. I like when he screamed in the mall.
Yeah.
And so she said,
When
ah!
Santa's coming. Yeah.
Other than that, now.
No, I like that movie. We used to watch obviously the classics like A Christmas Story. Is that what it's called? The Red Ryder BB gun. Come on, what?
That's a little
Do you know
for our
what I'm talking
time.
about? Yeah. Was it called A Christmas Story?
Yep. And then there was.
Wait a second, you've never seen this?
I saw it one time. My mom was like, "Oh my gosh, you guys have to watch this." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, we're still on. It's still going." So I watched it once, and that was it.
Wow.
That was it.
Well, I agree with you though, because I can't watch it anymore. They're just like certain little parts, I guess, that I can still watch, but the whole movie is hard to sit down and watch the whole thing every time. So
Drink more Ovaltine.
yeah, she doesn't know what you're talking about.
I remember the commercials.
I thought we were talking about that movie.
Oh, they're talking about like Ovaltine, like the
Because
drink.
he has like
You got the decoder?
He's got a secret decoder thing. And
He's like, what?
He's
Oh.
super jacked up about what the secret message is going to be, and he goes through this whole thing. He locks himself in a bathroom and all these things, and Rafi's so excited, and he's like, "Come on, give me the secret number." And he gets there, and the message is drink more Ovaltine, and he's very disappointed.
You can actually, I think
watched
go
it
down here
differently
to
from y'all.
go to Summit Racing and buy the leg lamp.
Oh, you can?
Hmm.
Do you know what the leg lamp is? Where he won the prize, and he gets the thing shipped to him, and he opens it, and it's a lamp, and it's a leg. Oh man, we are dating.
Google leg lamp. I guarantee you it'll
23.
come up.
That's what you say, Mike. So 23 and down, don't bring that up
They're
anymore.
out.
They're out. We got to get. So you said The Grinch That Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Not even like the original cartoon.
I love the cartoon. Like I always watch the cartoon and the puppet ones too.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Just trying next time I get a young person on here, make sure we don't date ourselves. It's bad. We're gonna start talking about black and white movies before we know it here, and she definitely wanna. What's the earliest movie you remember?
Speaking of black and white, Levi has got hooked on Steamboat Willie.
Mickey. Wow.
But I think it's now I don't know where it derived from, but I'm almost guessing it's one of Walt Disney's first cartoons.
Oh yeah. Probably.
I think it said like when I looked at it when she played it on TV, it was 1952 or something.
Yeah.
He is hooked on it. I was like, I'm so sick of seeing that.
I honestly don't think I've ever watched it.
It's,
What I remember. The most,
it's not Walt Disney as you would picture.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the little clips they always show of him on the Steamboat Willie, but I've never watched the cartoon. They had a leg. I told you in the past, I love Legos. I think me and Levi share this thing. We love Legos.
Yeah.
They had a Steamboat Willie one in Walmart last year, and my wife saw it there, and she was like, "Oh, I should get that for him," but she didn't. Went back the next day to get it. It was gone. Can't find it anywhere.
Haley's the same way with
Now
it.
it's like
I say, if
double
you
the-
want it, you better go get it.
You try to get it on eBay now, it's double the price.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever was $100 is now like $200. So I can't get that. I'm pretty excited though if I do get something that's Legos this year. I hope. Haven't asked for it. I'm just hoping that I get surprised with something Legos.
I think you just did.
My wife doesn't listen to this. She'll never know. I could tell her. I could say everything I got her for Christmas on this podcast, and she wouldn't. I think that's a interesting thing. Like if she did a podcast, I wouldn't listen to it either. I think we're around each other so much. Like I don't want to hear what you have to say any other time.
Haley listens to it.
I know she does. Yeah, she's a good, faithful follower of you, so that's good. I'm not saying Heather's not, but she just doesn't dig podcasts. Let me take that back. She doesn't listen to any podcasts, so that's not her thing. What do you want to talk about tonight? Jesus?
I ain't got nothing to talk about.
You got nothing? We talked about last week, Morgan, so you can catch up where we are. We talked about Jesus healing the blind man, and our point last week was the immediate thing that in John chapter 9 is where we are. As Jesus went along, it says he saw a blind man from birth, and the first question that his disciples asked him were, who sinned? Was it this man or was it his parents that he was even born blind? And it had been the custom back in that day. They would understand that if something like this were to happen, then there had to be a reason for it. There had to be somebody did something and God is punishing them for it, and your punishment is for the rest of your life you're blind.
Well, more specifically, his bloodline.
Yeah.
Not just anybody, but
Well, yeah. Okay, sorry. Not just I sin and you're
yeah, I'm paying for your sin.
Sorry.
But
Yeah,
within the bloodline.
within the bloodline.
Yeah.
And Jesus said, neither this man nor his parents have sinned, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. And then Jesus goes on to get the clay and the mud and rub it on his eyes and says, go wash off in this place. And he does, and the man can see. Our point last week was following Jesus is a personal thing. Like it's a decision that each one of us have to come to an understanding of and make a decision on. It's the cliche thing, like you're not saved because your grandmother went to church or your parents went to church, or even if you just go to church a lot, doesn't save you. But it's that personal decision to follow Jesus, to give him your whole life, is really what saves you, provides you with eternity, and this provides everything in your life. And so that's where we are tonight. And then the last thing that happened was Jesus told the man to go, and then the people said, well, where is he at now? And he said, I don't know. Jesus,
he gone.
He was gone. He it wasn't his time. And just like he told his mother several times, my time hasn't come yet. And he heals other people throughout Scripture, and he tells them, now go and don't tell anyone, stuff like that. And we just briefly touched on the point of Jesus knew that he had an appointed time, a specific time, that was when he was to die, when he was to become famous and known, and this wasn't it yet. And he was just following God's will. So that's kind of where we were. You have some notes tonight, so where do your notes start? I want to make sure I catch you up to where you are.
Oh, I was just covering like what blindness was and how like the Pharisees were blind to the healing that Jesus was doing. Yeah. Okay,
good. So you're at the part I sent you from, like, you're in the perfect spot. I was wanting to make sure. And so that brings us to this next section here. I don't know that we can read all the verses because it's like 13 through
41.
Woo, that's a lot. That's a lot of verses.
Some of it's a little redundant. It's kind of a interrogation.
Yeah. So you want to read it? Your mic sounds good.
I can?
Yeah.
I'm actually going to read out of the Amplified version because I read both of them, and mainly because of not the last part, 35 to 41, just to have a different viewpoint of it. But then also how the Pharisees just... And I was trying to think of a name for them today, and I think I figured that out. Instead of... Because the Pharisees and the Sadducees, together they were called the Sanhedrin, or Sanhedrin, however you want to pronounce it. They were basically what I call them, the mafia of their day. Because they wanted the money and they wanted the power.
And they were strong-arming people for it.
Strong-arming people. So I'm like, what could I call it? It's got to have a good name, like the Mofficees or something like that. That's like...
What did you come up with?
Mofficees.
The Mofficees? Could work.
These are things I think about riding around.
Yeah. When you're not sharing the gospel on the side of a busy interstate.
And that was great. I mean, that was awesome.
I
was like, man, we could get hit at any minute, but at least we're prepared. Tires laying on the ground. We're good. Anyway, I'm going to read out the Amplified version now, just to let some folks know, and I don't know what version you have. Amplified basically just kind of adds a little bit in there just to make it more clear of what they're saying. So I'll pick up in 13, and I'll just go ahead and read all of it, and then it'd just be easier to go back and talk about it. Then they brought the man who was formerly blind to the Pharisees. Now it was on a Sabbath day that Jesus made the mud and opened the man's eyes. So the Pharisees asked him again how he received his sight. And he said to them, he smeared mud on my eyes, and I washed, and now I see. Then some of the Pharisees says, this man Jesus is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath. But others said, how can a man who is a sinner, a non-observant Jew, do such signs and miracles? So there was a difference of opinion among them. Accordingly, they said to the blind man again, what do you say about him, since he opened your eyes? And he said, it must be that he is a prophet. However, the Jews did not believe that he had been blind and had received his sight until they called the man's parents. They asked them, is this your son, who you say was born blind? And how does he now see? His parents answered, we know that this is our son, and that he was born blind, but as to how he now sees, we do not know. Or who has opened his eyes, we do not know. Ask him and stop asking us. He is of age. He will speak for himself and give his own account of it. His parents said this because they were afraid of the leaders of the Jews. For the Jews had already agreed that if anyone acknowledged Jesus to be the Christ, he would be put out of the synagogue. Because of this, his parents said, he is of age, ask him. So a second time they called the man who had been born blind, said to him, give God glory and praise for your sight. We know this man Jesus is a sinner, separated from God. Then he answered, I do not know whether he is a sinner, meaning separated from God, but one thing I do know, that I was blind, but now I see. So they said to him, what did he actually do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answered them again, I already told you, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again and again? Do you want to become his disciples too? And at that remark, they stormed at him and jeered, you are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know for certain that God has spoken to Moses, but as for this man, we do not know where he's from. The man replied, well, this is astonishing. You do not know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes. We know according to your tradition that God does not hear sinners, but if anyone fears God and does his will, he hears him. Since the beginning of time, it has never been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a person born blind. If this man were not from God, he would not be able to do anything like this, because God would not hear his prayer. They answered him, you were born entirely in sins, from head to foot, and you presume to teach us? Then they threw him out. And I'll stop right there.
Are you going to stop right there?
Yeah, I'll stop right there.
Okay. Will you start now? So, Morgan?
Hi.
So, take us to where we're going. What's the point?
To find sight, to get healed from spiritual blindness, you need to follow Jesus. The very interesting thing about the Pharisees is that they were just so blinded by the law. They were so they were just in bondage to it. That they were just ready to fight, argue, stiff arm people's family, go to their house, basically bust down the door, just trying to see, just trying to just soothe their own conscience to the point where they were just struggling to be able to support their own claims of what they previously knew versus what was actually occurring in front of them, which was healing. And so they didn't want to follow that. And so blindness occurs, I have in my notes, spiritual blindness is referred to as hardening, and their hearts were hardened. So their hearts were so hardened that they were just so fixated and focused on their ideology that they were not going to turn their hearts or turn their eyes to what Jesus was doing. And so in order for us to have sight, we have to be healed from our blindness by following Jesus. Because he's the one who's going to correct.
And I thought it was super interesting that the parents were so scared. They were like, he has a voice.
Muffinese.
The Muffinese. He has a voice. Go ask him. We don't know. We're so scared that if we say we think Jesus did it or God did it through Jesus, that you're going to beat us up or something or kick us out of they said the synagogue, so basically out of the church. You're going to be kicked out of the church if you agree with what we believe to be blasphemy or whatever. So it just goes to show, they were super scared of these people. And you're right. It's like they believed this for so long, their pride would not let them accept maybe we're wrong.
And he was doing miracles. He's doing it in front of them. What do you think? Oh, he's a prophet. No, he's not. What do you think? You just asked me. But he's a prophet. Yeah.
And I keep going back to that show, The Chosen. Have you gotten a chance to see this show?
I watched one episode.
Like it or no?
I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I'm glad you said that, because if you would have said no, I'd been like, man, I'm really old, because I liked it a lot. But yeah, and so what I keep going back to in that, I like the way that they portrayed the Sanhedrin, the Pharisees, and the Sadducees. They were that. They were knocking, when Jesus is healing the lame person, when they're all gathered around the house and they notice this thing going on there, the Roman guards just immediately come over and start trying to get to the door. There's too many people, but they're just like busting people out of the way, trying to get in there and all this kind of thing. So I agree. And it's you're so engulfed in and so for us in 2021, about to be 2022, so many people are engulfed in what they've believed their whole life that they're just blind to there could be a different way. And the only way to change it is Jesus. Mm-hmm. But people, I mean, you go up to someone and say, I think you're spiritually blind. You need Jesus. I mean, is that going to get you anywhere?
They're like, what? Don't talk to me.
Who is this random person talking to me in a parking lot?
In a parking lot at 9 o'clock at night. Are you spiritually blind?
Yeah.
No, but if you don't get away from me, you're going to be blind.
And so
I'm going to spray you in the face with pepper spray.
And like so many other things. Before you can get to the point of pointing out that someone's spiritually blind, you got to form some kind of relationship with them at some point, like some way.
Let them open the door.
Yeah, you said that earlier in your situation. You let other people.
I'll let them open the door.
Just open the door. Yeah, and if they open it, then walk through it, bust through it, and bring it there. And so
whether they say something positive, like the conversation I had last night, or if they'll say GD, you know, a cuss word or anything.
Dogs.
Well, if they're screaming that, I don't deal with that.
I mean, anybody would say "Go Dogs." And David Pewitt said he listens to this podcast every week. He would say like "War Eagle" for Auburn. Feel sad for him too. Shout out to David. It was his birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday,
David. Yeah. So how do you? Because we were all Morgan. Let me ask you this. I don't put you on the spot. How old were you when you found Jesus? Young?
I always went to church. However, after between 9 and 14, I started wondering about everything inside the world. So I was just kind of just questioning everything, but really rededicating my life at 19.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just trying to get to the point of there were 19 years that you were spiritually blind, that you understood some of the truth but didn't see it. Oh, I was 25 or 6 that I was spiritually blind, and I can remember going to church as a teenager, being invited by my uncle. My great uncle would lead a Bible study, and I would go with the youth. And I can remember being in there thinking, what are they talking about? I'm not down with all that and whatever, because I was spiritually blind to the truth of what was going on, because I had been brought up in such a way that my ways were my family's ways, whatever, were just ingrained in me. And that's the same thing we see with these people here. They just don't want to admit that their way may not be the right way, because when you get to a point where you admit that my way is maybe not the right way, then it's a knock on your pride. In some ways it's a knock on whoa, I messed up, and I may have almost had my life going in the total wrong direction. And so it's just an interesting thing, because there's a lot of people that are going around spiritually blind. I mean, there probably are some believers that are going around spiritually blind. They think that they've got it figured out, but what it really all boils down to is, like Morgan was saying earlier, every situation I go into, before I get in there, I want to pray that the presence of God takes over in this moment, and that it's known. And we don't always approach every situation like that. Some situations we just handle because of our expertise, or we just handle because we're familiar with it, or we just handle because we just handle it. And so,
I mean, we had a conversation before we started. There was some people come here just to support other people. Why are you here?
Yeah, that's true.
It's not a support group.
Yeah,
it's for worship.
Yeah. You have anything else on your notes over there?
I actually had a story I wanted to reflect on.
Okay.
So one of the kids that I service some kids that have visual problems. So one of my kids, he can't really see, so legally he's blind, but he's not. So
Makes sense.
Yeah, but with people who have visual needs, you have to have certain equipment to magnify their sight. And so as I was reading this, I was thinking about my student, because with him, I'll ask him, okay, can you see this? What do you see? And they'll tell me what he sees. And I'm like, okay, so you can't see this. Come over here, get closer. So I have to move him around, or I have to move him to his machine so that way he can see. And so from reading this, it's just like the Pharisees, their visuals, they had their own sight of what they were seeing, and they're just like, they assumed they saw a lie. They assumed that they did not see what was occurring, which was the miracle of healing that came through Jesus. And so within this, within the man that was blind, he was able to see, like, yes, I was healed. And so within that, I was just thinking about, like, okay, you put this student on this equipment, now he's able to see. And it's just like, once we ask Jesus for sight, how he's able to give us sight. Mm-hmm. It's just like he's just moving us around so that way we get that vision, that perfect vision.
Yeah, of course. I can remember as a child, my younger brother, we used to get so mad at him, and he would get yelled at by my parents for being so close to the television, and we'd be like, get out of the way, and he would say, I can't see, and we used to always be like, yeah, right, man, just back up or whatever. And it turned out that he was honestly like almost blind.
Oh, wow.
And so he had to get glasses and all this stuff at like 7 or 8 years old, and then we always felt terrible about it. But you're right, when the doctors gave him the right equipment, now he can see, and it may look like Coke bottles that he's wearing on his eyes now, but he can see. And for many of us, we're running around with Coke bottle glasses because our vision was so jacked up, and Jesus has now got us running around with those big glasses on, and now we can see clear.
I got two things I want to bring up. And what always gets me about the Pharisees, what they place their justification on for the way they are, is they always go back to Abraham and Moses. They always go back. And so right here in 28, it says, and at that remark, they stormed at him and jeered, you are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know for certain that God has spoken to Moses. So my question is, how do you know? So I did a little research, and I went back in my Bible, and they estimated, and I went to Exodus because that's where we got the commandments. And then I think in Deuteronomy or Leviticus is actually where they got all their rules. But Exodus 20 is where we got the Ten Commandments. So that was the start. And so they kind of estimated it around 1450 BC. So you're telling me over 1,450 years ago, you know for a fact that God talked to Moses. That's what they always did. If it wasn't Moses, it was Abraham. It's like, how do you know? And they said right here, we know for certain that God spoke to Moses. How? How do you know?
It's interesting what they chose to, the hill they chose to die on, because they believed that. But also the prophet spoke of the coming Messiah and what he would do and what it would look like.
I'm getting to that too.
Good, okay.
So if we hop back 5 verses, still in John, but I'm going to go back to John 5:44, and I'm going to read 2:47. And this is Jesus talking. How can you believe in me when you seek and receive glory and approval from one another, and yet do not seek the glory and approval which comes from the one and only God? Many people do that today. If I can get these people to look at me and cheer me on, and they can, hey, great job, I'm in. That's what the Pharisees were doing, because he says, y'all want the most important seat at the party. When you walk through the streets, you want people to recognize you, and go team, there comes the Pharisees. Do not think that I am the one who will accuse you before the Father. There already is one who accuses you. Who might that be, Jesus? Moses, the very one in whom you have placed your hope for salvation. Because he says you study and read the scriptures because you think in them there is salvation. It never said that. It never said if you memorize all this and do all this, you're in. Never said that. For if you believed and relied on the scriptures written by Moses, you would believe in me, for he wrote about me. But if you do not believe his writings, how will you believe my words? Well, you just got shot down.
Yeah.
You've got no grounds. You're out. You're still spiritually blind.
Yeah. And so super interesting how they picked and chose what they were going to like invest all their belief in.
Strength, energy, heart, mind, and soul.
Yeah. Because the scriptures definitely pointed to Jesus, but like we've said before in the past, if the scriptures spoke of something happening today, like if there was something other than Jesus that was supposed to take place and it started happening around us right now, whatever it may be, I don't know what it looks like. It would be hard for us to adapt and change also, because all we've known is what we know. And all they knew is what they knew. And then they knew that there was a coming Messiah. They knew that he was going to save the people from their sins. They knew all those things, but they didn't know what it looked like, and they didn't know how it was.
They had a different envision.
And they didn't know how it was going to infringe on their own personal, private, like, beliefs. And, oh, wait, we know Jesus is coming to save the world, but we already got it figured out. You need to save them people. Like, we're okay. It kind of rocked
We know the words.
Yeah.
But you're not doing what the word says.
Yeah.
It's like they lacked awareness of what was going on around them.
Yeah. Lacked awareness of what was going on around. That's true today. I always say, and I think I get tired of hearing myself say it, but I always say, if you have to be alert to see what God's doing around you. Like, you could go to school every day, and if you never paid attention to the way God was working in and around, then you could miss it. Like in a kid's life, or in another teacher's life, or even in your own personal life. If you just showed up and you did the task because Clayton State trained you really well, and you know how to be a teacher, and you know how to speak to kids in a certain way, and you know how to get them to achieve a goal, you could go and do all that and never realize the intricate, tiny, detailed ways that God was working. And so I try to encourage people, like, pay attention.
Be sensitive.
What is God doing around you? And you got to be alert to see that.
Well, one thing I told the guy last night when we were talking, I said when the gospel starts getting talked about, the work gets put on hold. I said, because we may never see each other again.
Yeah.
And your job, when you get saved and you follow Jesus wholeheartedly, now, he says everybody is to go out and share the gospel. Not a lot of people can do that. So they may not actually be called to do it, but it does say the Great Commission. When you receive it, now go out and give it to somebody else, or tell somebody else, because you can't give salvation to anybody. I said, there may not be another time. When we leave here, we both might get in a wreck and die. But at least you heard the gospel.
Yeah. That is a call for every believer.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the situations here in the last 6 verses of this chapter where Jesus doesn't try to hide the fact of who he is. You know, the other couple of situations we read about, not that he hid it, but he wasn't like, I'm the one that did that, or now you see me and then go do it. So it said that Jesus heard that the Pharisees had thrown him out, and when he found the man, he said, do you believe in the Son of Man? And the guy says, well, who is he? And tell me who he is that I may believe in him. And Jesus said, you have now seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking with you. I don't know what that would do to you guys, but if when I got saved that day.
So why did you put mud on my face? Why didn't you just kind of touch the side of my head or something?
Well, yeah, what was in the mud?
Why did you spit on me?
Yeah. That would have freaked me out.
That's nasty.
If I would have saw Jesus the day he saved me, it would have been wild. It says, then the man said, Lord, I believe, and he worshipped him. And Jesus said, for judgment I have come into the world, so that the blind will see, and those who see will become blind. And some Pharisees who were with him heard him say this and asked him, what, are we blind too? And Jesus said, if you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains. And so Jesus said, you were spiritually blind. Like, you didn't even realize what you didn't know that you didn't see. But now, hopefully, through this encounter, you're seeing that I am the Son of Man. You're seeing that I am the coming Messiah, and I'm about to rock your world. And this just leads on to them not liking him even more. So,
and see, along those lines, that's why I had to read the Amplified Version. Verse 40, it says, some Pharisees who were with him heard these things and said to him, are we blind? Are we also blind? Jesus said to them, if you were blind to spiritual things, as Morgan said, you would have no sin. Because it does say, I think there's a proverb, ignorance is bliss. Because if you don't know the scriptures,
know, then I can't be wrong.
You don't know.
Right.
And would not be blamed for your unbelief. But since you claim to have spiritual sight, you have no excuse, so your sin and guilt remain.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I can understand that a little bit better.
Yeah. I do like that Amplified version. It does explain it very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I should have did some more research. Isn't there a scripture that says something to the effect of we can no longer claim to be, I'm going to say naive, but maybe like ignorant?
Paul says everyone is going to be without excuse because God's invisible qualities have known from the beginning of time. And mainly he was saying you could just look at nature.
Mm-hmm.
He said it had to come. Somebody had to start it.
So there was a time in every one of our lives when we could technically get away with being spiritually blind and not be punished for it. Like it's just
ignorant to the fact.
Yeah.
Father, forgive them for they know not what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the challenge comes in once someone like you or Morgan or myself step into your life and give you the truth.
And see, Jesus could say that to the Pharisees because they were following him around, keep an eye on. It's like, what is this guy doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like you were just saying in that show, the Roman soldiers and the Pharisees were trying to get in there. It's like, what is it? Oh, he's healing people. Oh, it's the Sabbath day. You going down. They ain't concerned about the dude that was crippled. Oh, he's walking. No, you get out of here.
Yeah. We're
more after him.
Rituals and all that. And what was interesting, and I would have to go read more scripture to see if it's factual, but in the Chosen, Nicodemus, the whole time is following Jesus around, and he really believes what's happening. Like because I think even in the first episode, Nicodemus was a part of it. And so he was a Pharisee, but he also understood that Jesus might be the Messiah they were talking about. And so he was kind of curious. I thought that was interesting how one of their own could see this may be true.
And they got a proverb to go with the very end of verse 41 there. It's Proverb 26:12. It says, do you see a man who is wise in his own eyes? That flip page. There's more hope for a fool than him.
Exactly. So if you're a fool, you don't know. There's hope for you, but if you think you got it figured out.
Paul also said preaching of the gospel is foolishness to a lot of people.
Yeah. Don't throw pearls before swine is another proverb that's out there.
Basically, it says if you think you know it all, you're stupid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'll never be accused of that.
Me too.
Being stupid?
No. I've been accused of that plenty of.
I know many arrogant people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Many.
Yeah.
Me too.
So what would your, Morgan, because I guess you're 23, and this is what I think I've learned and heard 23-year-olds, millennial I would assume, then it's what division?
Gen Z.
You're Gen Z?
Yes.
So what does millennial stop at?
Gen Z?
Yes.
Generation Z.
Yeah.
Y'all don't even say a whole word anymore? Gen Z.
What are we?
What?
What are we, Mike?
I always considered it was the Generation X.
Yeah.
You would know more than this. Is that right? We're Gen X?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And then there's millennials, and then there's Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
So you're after the millennials.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then what is... So I've heard that, and I don't know if this is true or not.
So does that mean generations are done after Z?
We'll go to Generation AA or something. I don't know how
Probably. They run out of names.
I don't know how they don't name them like a hurricanes where you just start over with a different name. I don't know. But I've heard that millennials, in general, and this may not be true, but I think it's true for some of the people I know that are millennials, they just want the truth. Like they just don't give me the churchy answers. Don't give me the beat around the bush type stuff. Give me the truth. Give me the old hymns, the songs that speak truth in them, stuff like that. We don't have time for all the nonsense. We want to know the truth. What is Gen Z's like stance? Because you roll with these people. What is their biggest thing about? What's holding them back from just accepting this gospel that you know is true? And what is the biggest obstacle when you're trying to impact your generation with Jesus? What do you run into?
The biggest thing is culture and environment. So the culture that we have right now is built on like hypocrisy, where people are like, they just focus on other people's mistakes and whatnot, and things that they've done in the past, errors and whatnot. So a lot of people, they've grown up in church, and a lot of people in my generation, they've never gone to church, or they've gone to church one time, and their perception is based upon media, or their perception comes from like hearing stories and whatnot, TV, other people, basically church hurt. It's just like a lot of amplified hurt, a lot of amplified mistakes. So they like to dwell on the mistakes, and that's one thing people focus on. That's what's holding them back, is that they're focusing so much on errors that they can't see all the success that comes from like going to church, growing up in church, focusing on the Lord. Because throughout like life and through relationship, you're gonna have issues with people and whatnot. But to focus and dwell on mistakes, you're never gonna grow in relationship. So a lot of people, they just like to focus and dwell on mistakes that have been made by like other Christians that they've seen, or other Christians that have hurt them. So they're just like, well, how can I serve a God like this if so-and-so said they were Christian, they hurt me? It's just like, there's a lot of grace that comes with this Christian walk. So a lot of people haven't really seen that. And so they haven't encountered it. So it's just like it's hard in their heart. So their hearts are just hardened to the truth because they've seen so much hurt and lies.
Of course. It's interesting. At lunch today, part of my conversation with the young man I was with was the hypocrisy in the church, because we were talking about, he's your age, he's 23, so he's Gen Z too, and we were talking about reaching that age and what holds them back, and it was the older age groups that are they're not really meaning to be hypocritical, but they are, because they're not willing to invest into this next generation that didn't grow up in church, that don't know what it's like to serve and to give up of yourself. And let's just say, for instance, work in the nursery, or work on a lawn care team, or serve on another capacity, whatever. We got a whole group of older people that we're like, I've been there and done that, and so now it's your turn to do it. And I'm like, I agree. But you have to
show me.
Yeah, exactly. But show them how
you
to
have
do
to teach them.
And so as we're trying to reach a younger generation, not even just trying to get rid of an old and replace them with a new, but it's kind of like the old, at some point, and this is just life, they're going to die off until that next generation understands how important Christ is, and that what we were talking about this morning was, sometimes I think the church, if a person walked in drunk, or if a person walked in not dressed the right way or looking the right way, they may be asked to leave at some churches. And what we were saying was, no, that's exactly why the church was here, and that's what we need. That younger people need to understand that, well, not even younger people, just people in general. If you are a sinner, if you have things that you feel like, man, God would just not even deal with me because I'm so jacked up, you're the exact reason that God allowed Jesus to go to that cross. And so to try to help people understand that, that's what it's here for. That the church is here for the sinners. The church is here for the people that feel like they're struggling, that can't do it on their own, because we can't. And that's what it all boils down to. So it's teaching that generation, right? Like how to do just church in general.
Yeah, that's why I like serving, because I remember I served on Thanksgiving, and just talking to some of the older ladies, they're so sweet. They're like,
absolutely,
we got all the young people, because literally my whole life group came, and we were just all in there just helping.
I'm telling you, I was so encouraged when I walked in that day, because in my mind, I had already made up that when I walk in here, it's going to be the older people that are putting this on and doing it. And when I walked in, it was totally not that. There were so many people 25 and under that were here that my heart was just like super psyched. Like, wow, okay, we're getting something here, because they are investing in these younger people. And then you guys, like, if next year, like, say for instance, those old people weren't here, next year if y'all had to do that whole Thanksgiving by yourself, you could do it. Like they taught you how to. So that was really cool.
I learned how to properly cook, because they know how to cook. They know how to cook some food.
So that was really cool
to go to your example, because all the answers, we got all the answers.
Absolutely.
My brothers, do not show favoritism as you hold on to the faith in our glorious Lord Jesus Christ. For example, a man comes into your meeting wearing gold ring and dressed in fine clothes, and a poor man dressed in dirty clothes also comes in. If you look with favor on the man wearing the fine clothes and say, sit here in a good place, and yet you say to the poor man, stand over there or sit on the floor by my footstool, haven't you discriminated among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? Shame on you.
Yeah. I really like the scripture that Jesus said, like to talk about not
That's
being,
James 2, if y'all want to look it up.
where he's talking about you're not that important. It's like when you go into if you're invited to a dinner party, so when you go, don't just go to the head table and think you're important. He says, sit at the very back.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, be in the very back. Now, if the host comes up and says, hey, come join me at the host table, then he
Word.
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 I'm down with that. So go, because then that shows that, the respect, and you place people above yourself, and then God raised you up.
But one thing that I've never really understood, now I understand there's an etiquette when you go to etiquette. Is it etiquette?
Mm-hmm. You got it
etiquette?
right. Yeah.
I just said it wrong.
Just don't say quit. Just say
Etiquette.
Etiquette.
Okay. Or
what's the other word we were trying to say?
nope,
Wait.
I can't say it.
I'm trying to think of it.
See if Morgan can say it.
Oh, can you say Catholicism?
Catholicism?
Boom. It's so easy.
I cannot say it. There's
We were
no
talking
way I
about
can
that
say
before
it.
you got here. He gets real close though. It's the
Lism, I guess.
Yeah.
It's got too much lizard in it, I guess.
Oh, wow.
I just can't say it.
What's your point?
I don't know. I forgot.
You forgot now?
Humility?
What was I talking about?
Etiquette.
Etiquette. Where did the dressing up, going to church come from?
Yeah. We talked about that a couple weeks back.
Where?
I didn't research it. I don't know.
I've talked to several people about it. And they're like, well, I don't know. The only ones that had a dress code in this book were the Pharisees, the high priest.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, nobody had a dress code.
Yeah. I don't know where that came in. I'm not
So
sure.
when people walk in, it's like, we have had them. And your point?
Mm-hmm.
Who cares?
Yeah, I told you a couple weeks
Other than you, who cares?
I told you a couple weeks back, I always have to think about what I wear on Sunday morning now, because I get there's certain people that just watch what I wear. And I don't dress up like suits and ties like I guess that some pastors do, and that's what people expect.
It's like, yeah, look at that guy up there in the 3-piece suit. He looks like he's having fun, doesn't he?
Well,
He's up there about to sweat and pass out. He's turning red.
and I can respect what they're saying, because a couple of the comments were, one Sunday we did the Lord's Supper. We were doing the Lord's Supper, and one of the people that we asked to serve was just dressed like we always dress, like normal. And then someone said, well, can you dress like that, and serve the Lord's Supper? I'm like, well, I mean, Jesus, and then we're walking around in cloths and whatever. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that we were okay in a T-shirt or whatever.
They were fishermen. Imagine what they smelled like.
They smelt. Their etiquette was not good.
Etiquette.
Like you like to say. It was.
I'm
not
trying
good.
to learn big words.
And their personal hygiene was probably low. I mean, all those things. And that was the people Jesus
I don't think
chose.
they had a travel toothbrush.
They didn't have the little travel bag. And so that's the people Jesus chose and he uses and all these things. And so who are we to set expectations on what you should wear and be and all these things? And another thing probably that Generation Z would see as something that would be
it's Gen Z. You said too many words.
Gen Z would see as
I say too much, and so do you.
To maybe not get plugged into the church, because they probably think that there's an expectation you have to dress a certain way. Mm-hmm. I always tell people when I do invite people to church, I said earlier that I struggle inviting people to church or talking to them out about. When I do invite them, I say, just come just like you are. Like what you're wearing right now is totally fine at our church.
They'll ask me, it's like, what should I wear? I say, clothes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We would appreciate the clothes.
It really does not matter.
No.
And I love the fact that from Mount Zion, 98% of Mount Zion, we are totally cool with whoever walks through that door and whatever. There's the other 2% that are just mixed in every congregation and every church that are the spiritual blind ones that think their way is the way and are going to look a certain way at other people. So either way, it's not important. Important is Jesus can give you sight. What's your final thoughts? We'll wrap it up.
Honestly, I'm so glad I didn't have a pen, because I was like, I'm going to take notes. I was told that
I have a pen.
You were told
I
that?
was told that this was just going to be free-flowing conversation, but
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, I should have been taking notes. I'm like,
He told me, he's like, last week, he said, I invited Morgan on here,
Uh-huh.
and she's going to make an outline. I was like, oh, Lord.
I said,
I'm an
invite Morgan
outliner.
because she is super, got this bubbly attitude and she loves Jesus and she's going to bring some excitement to the podcast.
And
so,
then he told me what you did,
Mm-hmm.
especially, I said, man, she might could teach us something.
yeah, no doubt.
How to pronounce it's etiquette and not etiquette.
Look at that. You learned it that quick. So I think
That's
you
it.
can learn Catholicism.
I might.
You don't want to try it on
I'll try. Say it again.
Catholicism.
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 Maybe if I just, I can't say it. I cannot say
It'll
that
take
word.
time.
You haven't had, like, you went through school. Like, you're
yeah.
finished. There's classes on other religions, right? Catholicism's going to come up.
Yeah, I just say the study of Catholic.
The Catholic religion for $100.
Yes.
Back in the day, so
Say this. I'm out.
Well, Morgan,
It's like, it says say it. I did. I just said it my way.
I said the Catholic religion, not Catholicism. Hey, I appreciate you taking your time and coming on here with us. You're welcome to come back anytime. We tell every guest that comes on, you're more than welcome to join us. I think the more random people that we have on here, the better, because we want everyone that listens and everyone that's involved with everything going on to know that, the gospel is for everyone. And the sharing of the gospel is not just appointed to, for one, not just men, two, not just pastors, three, not just life group leaders, but everyone. Mm-hmm. And I think it's encouraging for people to hear just how, this is going to sound like I'm saying, putting you down, normal people, like just a regular
Everyday
follower
people.
every day. This is what I do. I have a real life where I go to work and have a family, how they follow Jesus in their everyday life. And so I think you have a huge opportunity in that classroom to deal with people that, for whatever reason in life, God has allowed them to have an affliction. Mm-hmm. And now you're getting to meet them at a time in their early development where your love and your care and your concern you have for them coming straight from Jesus is going to be just infused in them. And so maybe their mental doesn't let them always grasp it, maybe whatever, but something in their spirit knows that they're loved.
Yes.
And they're cared for.
Yes, and it's always sweet because last week, one of my students, I didn't realize she was trying to tell me I love you. I'm going to cry talking about it, but it's taking her so long because she can't get the v out, so.
See, I'm not the only one that's trying.
So she was like, you, and I was just like, huh? And she's like, you. I'm like, oh, you love me? He's like, yes!
Oh, that's super sweet.
I'm like, oh. It's taken her so long, but she's come a long way.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Just to add a funny story to that is when we call in parts, I'll call in to my parts guy. Depending on the truck, we give them usually the last 8 of the VIN number, and they can pull it up and they can tell everything about the truck and what we need. I called the other day, we're messing around with each other on the phone. I was like, "You ready for the VIN?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "F you." And then there were some numbers. I was like, "Is that it?" I said, "That's it. F you."
He was like, "Mike, what happened? Last time I talked to you, you were telling me about Jesus, and now you're telling me off."
Oh.
Good deal.
I have a student like that.
Mike, before we go, random thoughts.
Well, I'm good. Thanks for coming on. Just a little bit different flavor.
Absolutely. I love it. And so like, subscribe, all those awesome things. Share with your friends. If you have any suggestions on what topics you want us to talk about, we can obviously randomly speak on anything you want us to.
We got the random down.
We do got the random down. Maybe Morgan, so we need to be more outlined, and that would help us. So we'll see.
That's Morgan's deal.
Yeah. Well, Morgan, I think Morgan, she said she podcasted in college. What was that podcast about? What'd you do?
Just random stuff.
No, I'm just joking.
I barely watched that. And I really wanted to watch this season.
The Bachelorette.
I really wanted to watch this season so bad.
Really dig it.
Just random stuff.
Just random stuff. So it was just what was the name of the podcast?
I'm not going to tell people.
You're not going to tell people?
No, I don't want them to go back and listen.
Oh, we can't go listen?
No.
Can you tell me when it's all done? When we're done, can you tell me and I can go back and listen?
Sure.
I'm sure it was good. Was it good, or were you learning?
Did you do it?
You're learning. Ours is not good. We're learning.
Did you do it just because you wanted to, or was it like a class requirement?
It's because I wanted to. I was the treasurer of one of the organizations. It was CSIR, Clayton State Internet Radio. So.
Oh.
Clayton State Internet Radio. I didn't know that existed.
Yes, we brought it back. It went down, we brought it back.
It was dead, and you brought it back.
Yep, same thing with BCM.
It's like Jesus, man. They're like bringing dead things back to life.
Yeah.
Through radio airwaves.
Yep.
Nice.
That's what we're trying to do.
So if you hear about a freak accident, a mechanic got hit on the side of the interstate, come see me.
When
That guy, because I had to kind of lay under the trailer, he said, "Do you want me to do anything?" I was like, "If this thing falls on me, get me out from under it." I said, "Don't leave me under there."
And if a car veers this way, tell me to move. Absolutely.
There were a few cars that come over the white line.
I'm sure.
I mean, they weren't going fast, but I was like, I said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I'm going to throw his handle in one of these cars in a minute." I broke my sledgehammer.
All right. Thank you, Morgan, for coming on. We appreciate it. Mike, thank you as always. We'll
Yes,
see you
sir.
guys next week. Have a good evening. Thank you.